right. Thank you so much for joining. We'll go ahead and get started. It is 1 o'clock here in New York, 12 Central and 11 Mountain Time, 10 a.m. Pacific. Let's not forget them. But thank you for joining today as we're going to talk about the modern user roles and permission management changes that are occurring at Localist or occurred at Localist yesterday in the dead of night. We changed things overnight, but you should notice everything running very smoothly. At least we have so far. So we'll get into what that means and what the biggest changes are for you and your calendar team in just a moment. As I mentioned, this call is being recorded for on-demand viewing on our help site, as well as sharing with anyone who wasn't able to make it. And we'll make sure that that is posted a little later this afternoon to share with other members of your team. Really quickly introduce myself. My name is Andy Marshall, and I am the head of support and education here at Concept 3D, formerly the customer education lead. And I have been with Localist since May of 2021. So I have a good grasp on our previous permission structure and what we'll be doing as far as permissions going forward. But if you need to reach me, feel free to email me anytime at andy@concept3d.com or at support@concept3d.com will also reach me. All right, just a quick look at our agenda. We're going to review the new roles that we're introducing. And then we're going to talk about a couple of the name changes that went along with it, as well as talk about what didn't change or what is staying the same and what you can expect to see when you log in. Then we're going to leave my presentation and take a look at the admin-live just to show you what it's going to look like. It will seem pretty familiar to you if you are in the admin- regularly editing user and permission info, but otherwise we'll show you what that looks like. And then if there are any questions at the end, you can feel free to add them in the Q&A field, or if the chat, I apologize if the chat is not working. Sometimes Zoom chat is a little tricky, but again, feel free to add any questions in Q&A, or feel free to email me after the presentation today. So really quickly, I want to touch on something. If you signed up for this presentation earlier, you may have seen its original name, which was RBAC permissions. What is RBAC? And I wanted to mention this just in case you were curious as to why I've suddenly pivoted away. But RBAC stands for what we've implemented here with Localist, which is a roles-based access control program that regulates user access based on the role assigned to individuals using the platform. So a role in this context refers to a set of permissions that specify what each user is allowed to do. This approach is very common for managing users and permissions in large organizations, as it simplifies the management of user permissions and reduces unauthorized access. Most importantly, though, is this is how we operate with both the map and tour here at Concept 3D. So now Localist is consistent with those two other products for the entire suite of Concept 3D products. But I just wanted to mention that. If you were wondering, I won't be mentioning RBAC too much from here on out. But if you were curious as to why, that's why, and that is the basis of what our changes are today. So what's new? The real meat and potatoes. So first and foremost, platform admins are going to remain platform admins, and they are going to receive the highest level of access across your platform. The biggest change we've made is that now platform admin is now a full unrestricted permission that will not have that can access any part of the platform, including classification, bulletins, register, domain and settings, apps and integrations. Really, there is no restrictions to anyone who receives a platform admin permission. Because of that, we don't recommend that you make everyone a platform admin, as we do also now have other roles that might suit different members of your team that might not need as much access as a platform admin is allowed. However, one of the biggest notes to make about a platform admin is that this is still the only permission level that can add a new user to your platform via the admin dash. A user can still sign up in the traditional way with a name and email address or with a social login, but it is going to require, if something is being added by an admin, it needs to be a platform admin. Similarly, they are the only ones that are able to edit a user's permissions once they have signed up or been added to the platform. One of the newest permission levels, or roles rather, that we're introducing is Calendar Manager. Now, this gives you full access to the front-end calendar, including any edits to classification, all events, any bulk uploads, or feed imports. However, they cannot add new users to the platform, and they cannot escalate permissions for other users in the platform at all. There will be no user management for a calendar manager. They really just have access to the full front end of the calendar, anything that's being presented to your community, anything that's going on in your admin dash, with the exception of things like your platform settings, any apps and integrations. They won't be able to see domain and security. And again, here you can see what makes a calendar manager different from a platform admin. The biggest ones are, yes, they cannot add or edit any new users. They cannot access platform settings or apps and integrations, or those domain and security settings for setting up your custom domain and SSL. So the next real big one to focus on are the event admin roles. Now, event admin is no longer a role here at Localist. And there are now 3 options you'll have to when determining what level of access you want your event creators to have. So first and foremost is a new one, Event Manager. This permission is pretty much unfettered access to everything events on your platform. So they can add, edit, or remove any events, including conferences, recurring events. They can bulk upload. They can import or set up feed imports as well. They are not subject to any allowed excluded rules across the platform. So even if you were to accidentally set restrictions for an event manager's account, that overrides, as they are just allowed to access any event across the platform, regardless of restrictions. However, they cannot edit any classification or any global platform settings. If you needed someone who could do both, you can probably consider making them a platform admin or calendar manager to edit classification. So what you'll see now, if you log into the admin dash, is your event admins were automatically ported over to one of the following 2 permission roles that you see here. First and foremost, event editor. They can create events using your admin form, and they can publish events. The other one is the event author. They can create events using the admin form. However, the big thing is that they cannot publish their events. Their events need to be either reviewed by an event editor that's allowed to, or an event manager, calendar manager, or platform admin reviewing their events. The big difference between a manager and an editor and author is that editors and authors can be subject to those allowed excluded permissions. So if you want an event editor only addressing certain events for a particular filter item or a particular department, you would want to make them an event editor so that they can publish their events, but you can then restrict them to that particular classification. And likewise, with an event editor, you can limit what they can or cannot see, and then they will not be able to publish on their own. But they will be able to use the event editor in the admin form, allowing them more access to those more robust fields inside the admin dash. So here's some exciting ones. We've created some new ones based on really limited access for some kind of specific use cases we've seen crop up over the years. First and foremost, theme developer. If you have a member of your calendar team or even a third-party developer that is handling your branding or your default event layouts, but they won't need access to your admin dash otherwise to really do anything other than edit the display and the branding of your platform, you can give them theme developer access, and they'll only be able to access the parts of the platform that they should be. Similarly, with system administrator, if you have a member of your team or your organization's IT department that needs to occasionally log in to set up things like custom domain and SSL or other technical processes, you can just grant them system administrator access, and now they'll only be able to see certain parts of the platform that pertain to the technical aspects or setup of the platform. So just kind of a way to make sure that certain members of your organization are allowed access, that they have a login that they can use over and over again, but won't really see anything if they go in the admin dash that they don't need to. All right. So one thing you'll notice in the admin dash is previously everyone was listed as a user. That is still the case. Anyone in this account that will be anyone who's signed up to your platform that does not have any admin access will still be listed as a user. However, there's no need to have anything checked in their profile. In fact, if you go to their permissions and you look at their profile, if everything is unchecked, you can just assume they are a base level user and do not have any access to the admin dash. I say that to say this, as previously that was the way you were able to block a user using Localist. Now, we did not have a traditional block feature for people that might lose privilege to log into your calendar and participate. That's no longer the case. Should someone need to be blocked from logging into your calendar from a specific account, we now have a checkbox on that account which will deactivate and prevent them from logging in again without removing it. Simply removing the account would then just allow them to create a new unblocked account otherwise. So now you'll be able to for sure block a user. Should that occur, doesn't really happen too often. Most people stay within the bounds of good calendar etiquette. However, there are some instances where you may want to make sure someone can't get back in. So we've made that a little easier for you as well. All right, a couple questions in the chat here. Just want to, can event editors be set up to receive email notices of pending events? We have users that are supposed to manage events for specific groups. Sometimes we get a front-end submission that a group has added, and I really like the event editors to review the events for their group, as opposed to requiring platform admins, open parentheses, me, to do all those. Thank you for your comment, Jill, and your question. At this time, it is still only limited to anyone who is listed in that pending digest field on the platform settings. Now, you can add as many people to that, including all of your event editors. However, it does not take into consideration those allowed excluded. It is just a general email blast to let you know that there are pending events. But I do hear that use case, and I appreciate you bringing it up. From Dan, can event authors access and export attendee registrant lists on events they have created? That I unfortunately I'm going to have to venture a guess there, but I am going to have to say no. Event authors really probably won't have that access. What I would recommend there is anyone that's using Register be an event manager to make sure that they have access to, Register is kind of a higher end or higher level thing. You're charging tickets. You need to kind of be able to coordinate. We are looking at some additional permissions revolving around Register in the future that might be able to allow for greater flexibility there as well. So again, this is kind of all, I do also want to mention this is kind of a version 1.0. We are hoping to build on this new permission structure, but we kind of want to see how this goes first. And so we're just kind of introducing our first version of this new permission structure. Thanks for the questions. I do appreciate it. All right. So just a couple things, some name changes really quickly. So previously, group admin, channel admin, and bulletin admin were required for access to those three pieces of classification or functions on the platform. They all will remain the same. However, they are now referred to as group manager, channel manager, and bulletin manager. And again, all existing group, channel, or bulletin admins will be automatically mapped to the new role title, and they will be subject to any prior allowed excluded restrictions that they were subject to previously, as far as groups, channels, and bulletins are concerned, if those were in place at the time of migration. All right, so what happens with existing permissions? And I've kind of alluded to this a few times, but just to make sure I had it on a slide that says it clear as crystal here. So forgive the arrows, but I felt they were important. Platform admins, again, are remaining platform admins. However, now that it is a just skeleton key for the entire platform, you will have no unfettered access to anything, and you will be able to add or edit everything around the platform. Your event admins were ported to either an event editor or an event author, and that depended on whether or not they had the publish events privilege turned on for their account at the time of migration. So if you were allowing them previously to publish events, which was a separate privilege within the event admin permission, they automatically became an event editor, as they are now allowed to publish. If they did not have publish events checked, they will now be an event author. So if you get any questions about why it says that in their profile, that's the breakdown there and how we decided to automatically port. No one automatically became a calendar manager or an event manager, because those kind of offer extra access. And we wanted to make sure everyone retained the same level of access, and then leave it up to our calendar teams to decide who deserves to get more permission or more responsibility within their calendar. Again, group admin is now group manager. channel admin is now channel manager, and bulletin admin is now bulletin manager. All pretty straightforward. All the functionalities of those roles remain the same. Group admin allows you to add and edit groups and departments. Channel admin allows you to add and edit channels other than the homepage, and bulletin allows you to add and edit bulletin newsletter blasts. And lastly, yes, a user is assigned, a user role is technically assigned to any user without any other permissions assigned. You will just not see any indication that they have any permissions when looking at their profile online. And yes, just to hammer this home, I know I've said this a couple times, but all previously assigned allowed excluded restrictions pertaining to places, groups, departments, filters, channels, and bulletins all remain unchanged. And just as a refresher, when an admin is allowed to a piece of classification, so a filter family or a group or a department, they will only see event content that receives that classification. Likewise, when an admin is excluded from a piece of classification, they will see all content except events using those classification items. So please reach out to support@concept3d.com or your client success manager if you'd like to know more about how to better utilize allowed excluded permissions. It's a great way to make sure that people are only seeing the events they need to. So if you aren't sure what I'm talking about here, maybe let us know and we can explore that more. All right, here is the portion of the presentation where I leave my presentation and I jump into the Localist admin dash. Let me just go ahead and make this a little bigger so we can see here. All right. So here we are in my client success examples platform that I use pretty frequently. And what we're going to do is we're just going to take a look at what the user experience now looks like when setting up permissions for a user in Localist. So we'll go ahead and click users and select all users. And I wanted to call this out here as you'll always see which role and at the highest level shown here for their role. So you'll see all your platform admins at the top. Below that, you'll see your calendar managers. And then you'll see if anyone was set to event manager, you would see that here, followed by editor, author, system admin, theme developer, and then your groups and channels managers. And again, anyone who doesn't have any previous or prior permissions assigned will just be shown as a user and does not have any items checked in their profile. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. This is a calendar manager I set up for myself on my personal email. So let's go ahead and take a look. CM just stands for calendar manager here. And if we scroll down, this will look pretty similar to what it looked like before. You'll just see now, instead of having multiple things that need to be checked off here, you can just have one for full access. So here we just have calendar manager. I'm in my root admin account here I'm in my platform admin account. So if I wanted to make this account a platform admin, I could. Nothing will happen if you have multiple of these checked. There's no, especially if you have platform admin checked, as that just really gives you all access to the entire platform. So no need to have multiple checked if you are a platform admin or a calendar manager. And then lastly, if we scroll down here, you'll see, yes, those allowed and excluded filter types all stayed applied to the account. So this was a calendar manager. They would actually not be subjected to these, but this was previously an event admin account that I changed this morning. So that's why those are there. Let's see here. Go ahead and leave. And again, you can always see the highest level of access they have at a glance in the admin dash. All right. Just want to kind of mention some resources available to you if you wanted to kind of review everything I just went over here and did not want to watch the presentation again. First and foremost, our Help Center articles are up to date with both modern user roles and permission levels. And I do really want to call out this particular what can every permission level do article here in our Help Center. This has a great breakdown for what a platform admin is. And then if you are a platform admin, some great resources to get started. And then you can see at a glance what you are able to do at each level. So again, now we're looking at calendar manager. We can see what can and cannot happen inside the platform Question here from Dan. I think are permissions stackable? For example, could a groups manager also be an event author? Yes, they could. No issues there. They would need both of those, as an event author is strictly only to do with an event capacity. So if they were going to be managing groups, they would also need to be a group manager. Yes, great question. If you did want them to just have access to that without needing additional permissions, calendar manager or event manager would also actually, no, I'm sorry, not event manager. Calendar manager would also be work for that. Event manager would not be able to see groups at all. Apologies, back to this particular, but again, if you keep scrolling down, you can see at a glance what cannot happen for each particular role. So I just wanted to call that out, as we there's a lot of cool info here. And if you're deciding what you want to assign to new members of your team or existing members of your team that you might want to adjust the access levels to, this is a great way to see. And if you could just come right into our help site and go to Localist events, it's in the events calendar onboarding section, which is a nice way to get things up and running for our new users. Lastly, I do wanted to mention we are in the. I did open a just an open forum for discussion in our admin community. This is something we opened up in our Zendesk. So if you visit help.concept3d.com, you'll see this community button right here at the top. If you click that, you'll be brought to our community forum where we have just general discussion, general wins board, as well as where you can make feature requests or discuss them with us in a forum here. But I did want to open one for our localist permissions. So just let us know what you think. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, suggestions, feedback that you feel might not work for a ticket, or you wanted to kind of have more of a public dialogue, please feel free to reach out to us here. I'm always looking to chat with our folks here in the admin community and give them some tips on how to make things a little bit better for their organization. All right. Well, I do want to thank you for your time. You've been a great audience asking me questions throughout. I do want to make a call and see if there are any last questions I can answer before we wrap up today regarding our new localist permission structure. I think you'll notice that things have been going pretty smoothly. We have had a great response to this, and the mapping we did was with a lot of care to make sure that we didn't lose anybody, and we wanted to make sure that no one lost any access that they previously had. If anything, they might have just a little bit more, but that can be easily adjusted with a new role or just some new permissions applied. Thank you, Daniel. Appreciate your questions. And yeah, we're very excited about this. This is some of the most meaningful changes we've had to localist permission structures in years. I think bringing it uniform with map and tour so that all of the products here have a very similar permission structure